Hey everyone, it's Lisa Danforth. Today I'm here to chat about habits, the 5 habits that are going to help you master your time management, start taking back some of your time. And today I'm going solo, and I've got 5 different habits that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to go through them. So please feel free to post your comments and your questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. Whether you are live or if you're joining us on the replay, I'm always happy to pop back in. But before I jump in, I want to share a quote that I absolutely adore and I think is incredibly impactful. So feel free to write it down if you'd like to. It's a quote by F.M. Alexander. And he says, people don't determine their futures. They determine their habits. And their habits determine their futures. Right? We are what we repeatedly do. So we live into those beliefs about ourselves. And our habits are what create everything that we have today are because of our habits. The results that we're experiencing, the success that we're experiencing, and the success that we're seeking, right? And maybe we're struggling. It's because of the habits that we have set up or the habits that we have not set in place that are going to allow us to be more efficient, effective, productive, and start getting back our time. So I'm going to jump right in. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. So the first number 1 habit is pausing. I know you've heard me talk about this a lot, but take a moment to pause before acting, before reacting, before responding, to make sure that what you're saying yes to or the activity that you're doing is in alignment with your longer term vision, your longer term goal. So that when you pause, you can connect the actions that are in front of you, or maybe the opportunity or distraction that's in front of you, and look at it and say, is this moving me closer to where I want to go, or is it a distraction and it's taking me off? So creating the habit of taking a moment to pause. I hear so many people say that, I don't have the luxury to slow down and look at what's going on. Hey, Christine. They don't have the luxury to slow down and look at what's going on. And that is like flying down the highway at 180 miles an hour and saying, I don't have time to stop for gas. So I'd invite you to pause. Schedule 30 minutes throughout your week if that's all that you can put in. And it will come back tenfold. When you are clear on specifically what it is that you need to be doing, you can set the goals, prioritize the goals, and know that the actions that you're taking are moving you closer. So you can be, again, more efficient, more effective, and start gaining your time back. So start implementing the habit of pausing. The second habit is creating what's called identity-based habits, or identity-based goals rather than results-based. Easy way to explain this is you have 2 people who have both quit smoking. Someone offers person A a cigarette, and they're like, oh, I'm trying to quit. It's so hard. I'm trying to quit. No. Someone offers a cigarette to person B, and that person says, no, I'm not a smoker. Can you feel the energy difference in the 2 of those? So creating as a person who does not smoke, this is my choice. Or as a person who is productive and wants to be done by 5 o'clock so I can be home with my family or going out with my friends, I'm going to turn away, all of the distractions, close out of all of the tabs that are distracting me from being productive. And again, that's going to take some time to pause, right, to get clear on those identity-based goals. Third habit, one of my favorite topics, boundaries. We need to start implementing the habit of boundaries. My belief is that boundaries are the bridge to whatever it is that we want, whatever it is that we're seeking. How do we get into action? How do we get into aligned action? How do we even pause and create those identity-based goals if we don't set the boundaries, cut the edges in place that creates the time for us to do what it is that we want to do, to say no to those things that are taking us off track, and to be able to focus on those things that are driving us forward. Tip with boundaries, you may have heard me say this before. If you're someone who has a difficult time saying no, pause and say, can you get back to me on that in a couple of days? I need to check my calendar to make sure that I've got the time to commit to you. And if the person pushes you, because often if we're the type of person who always says yes, the other person expects us to say yes, and they know that if they nudge us a little bit firmer, that all right, I'll do it. But if the person needs an answer in that moment, say, well, if you need an answer right now, then I'm afraid it's going to have to be no. But if you'd like to get back with me in a couple of days, I will make sure that I can check my calendar so I can commit that time to you and just make sure that I'm able to do that. One more thing on boundaries. I love this quote by Anne Lamott. No is a complete sentence. When you've established your boundaries, it's just easier to say no because you're in alignment with the person that you want to be. You're in alignment with the goals that you're going for, right? So saying no to one thing is saying yes to something else. So make sure that what you're saying yes and no to are in alignment with where you want to go. It's acting in alignment and creating alignment rather than balance so that we can create choices for what it is that we want. Habit number 4 is multitasking. Create the habit of stopping all of that multitasking. Multitasking is a lie. Multitasking, the studies show, cost us 28% of our time. Think about that. In a 5-day week, multitasking costs us 1.4 days of our week. Now, what's one thing that you would do to invest that 1.4 days rather than spending it on all of the multitasking and all of the different things? So understand that multitasking is a lie and that not everything matters equally. When we're trying to multitask, we've got all of these different things and it literally slows us down. When we pause, set the boundaries in, and make sure that what we're focusing on is one thing during that time, during that scheduled period of time that we're going to focus on, whether it's 30 minutes or 2 hours, and let everything else go by the wayside. Set that boulder in the river and let everything else go around it. Again, multitasking is a lie and it costs us on average 28% of our day when we're multitasking. So create the habit of closing out of your tabs, turning the ringer off from your phone. Let the people know around you that you are focusing on your one thing, you're focusing on your priority, and to please not disturb you for the next 30 minutes. Give that gift of transparency, and then you won't have to even cut in more boundaries if that person keeps knocking on your door because you haven't let them know. Habit number 5, go small. So often we set these big, lofty goals and we want to implement these big habits, right? I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks and I'm going to cut my diet back to, 1,000 calories, walking every day and drinking 3 gallons of water. We're setting ourselves up for failure, right? Go small. Think big. Think very big because that allows you to step forward in a grander space. But go small. Start building the habit. Start building that muscle of that one habit until you're comfortable with that. Then you've earned the right to bring in a new habit and continue to augment on those. So again, think big, think very big. I can't remember who says this quote, but it's like the goal it's not about achieving the goal, it's about who you become along the way. And if you establish these very large goals and start creating the habits in order to get there, even if you reach your goal, you will be further. If you don't reach your goal, you're going to be further along the process because you're looking for something that's so much bigger. But again, go small, start implementing smaller habits. The thing with that is when we start implementing those habits and we start becoming that type of person, identifying as the type of person who is able to, prioritize throughout my day so that I'm not working on the weekends, I'm not working, nights and missing time with my friends and time with my family. We can get those things done and really be able to say no to what's distracting us. And I have a little bonus habit, and that is show yourself some grace as you're stepping into this new space, as you're implementing these new habits. It's going to be a struggle. Sometimes it's going to be 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, maybe 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Show yourself some grace. You are casting a vote each time that you live into that identity of who you are and you establishing your boundaries. You're casting a vote towards that identity of who you want to be and who you need to be to achieve your goals. Here's the beautiful thing about that. It only needs to be 51-49 to start tipping the scale and start believing that you are the type of person that can achieve your goals. So in summary, the first one is pause. Get super clear on your vision. Know what it is that you want so that you can say yes to the things that are feeding your goals and no to the things that are distraction so that you can establish your goals, create the priorities that will drive those goals, and get into aligned action and create the future that you want. I've got a couple of comments here. I'm going to just say, hey, Christine, thanks so much for joining me. I have the dynamic duo in the house today, Agata and James. Thank you so much. So many people want to achieve too much too soon because we're taught instant gratification. That's right. That's why those dings, bells, and whistles on the phone are just driving us crazy because we want the reaction, that endorphin rush that we get. Thank you. Agata. But we need to learn patience and go one step at a time. Not easy, right? It can be really tough doing that because it's become a habit of us to learning to think, well, thinking that we really need to multitask. And James finally managed to join live. Finally, you joined so many of my lives. Thank you so much for it. I really appreciate you two always being so supportive. But just to back up, habit number 1, pause. Create that vision for what you want so that you can then back out of it and create the identity-based goals that are going to help get you there. When you have that vision and you know the identity, you are setting yourself up for success, you can start really cutting in those boundaries that allow you to create the life that you want. And with your boundaries, remember, multitasking is a lie. It's costing you 28% of your day, 1.4 days out of your week. How would you invest your time differently? Knowing that 1.4 days is just wasted. How would you invest it instead of just spending it? And habit number 5, think big, think really big, but go small. Start building that muscle towards the new habits. Don't try to implement 5 habits at a time. You're going to trip yourself up. And the bonus habit, show yourself some grace. Make sure that as you're stepping forward, you know that you're going to slip up every now and then. What is it that you can learn from that? What was the trigger that had you do something out of alignment with who you want to be? So often we continue to do the things that we don't want to do, creating the results that we don't want to have, and yet we're not quite sure how to stop and looking at it. So when you pause and create that identity, you can create the boundaries that are going to start supporting you to align your actions, to stop multitasking, and to dig in, go small with one habit so that you can achieve the success that you're looking for. Christine, I love the idea of attaching my identity to my goals. I've never thought about it in that way before. It is incredibly, incredibly effective. I'm going to repeat what I said at the very beginning. I'm not sure if everyone was on at that point, but looking at two people who have quit smoking. One person is offered a cigarette and they say, I'm trying to quit it so hard. The second person is offered a cigarette and they say, no, I'm not a smoker. The energy shift in that is so different. And I use that because it's just so visible when looking at it. So those identity-based goals, go for identity. As a person who is achieving their goals in less time, my choice in this moment would be X, rather than the results-based goal of I want to make more money, I want to have more clients. It doesn't give you the strategy and the tools to implement in order to achieve the future that you're looking for. So thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for all of the comments. You guys are always lovely. And then next week, which is April 8th, happy April 1st, by the way. And it is, Mother Nature's kind of throwing a trick on us because it's snowing in Vermont. Agata and James, it's probably really warm where you are. It's snowing here. We might be skiing again. But next week, April 8th, Laura Breezy Hill from Breezy Hill Marketing is going to be joining us. She's a very dear friend of mine. I've known her for years, and she's going to be sharing a bunch of her brilliance for you to be able to bring to your business and to bring to your career. So everyone, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. I want to say to your success, whatever success is for you. We'll see you next week.